Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast, where we explore sexuality, connection, and power through awareness and intentional choice.
At the Kink Collective, we help people reframe their relationship with sexuality, build deeper connections, and become safe spaces in the world.
Each episode invites reflection, not performance.
And the conversation continues inside Conscious Conversations, our live community space. Welcome to the conversation.
The disclaimer. This month is about triggers. You're going to see us dive into our stories and our experiences, and those are ours alone. What we're talking about is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? Either freezing, either becoming compliant with fawning, either fighting, which becomes aggressive, it looks like anger, or anything energetic that way, and flight, running away. When you dive into these questions, remember those, right? Because you'll notice how in this first episode, I go into my own rabbit hole. And what I wanted you guys to see is me processing my relationship with what activates me. In that breath, it also narrowed my vision to the larger scope of what triggers are. So going into this next month, please take that into consideration.
What if your strongest reactions aren't random, but revealing?
Because most people think a trigger means something is wrong out there. But sometimes a trigger can also mean something needs to be seen in here.
That doesn't mean that everything is your fault. It means that your reactions can become information if you're willing to look at them honestly. Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Joshua.
This podcast exists to help people understand themselves more clearly, relate more honestly, and stop repeating patterns that they don't fully understand yet.
And this month we're entering a new phase of the work, the mirror. Because after safety, after control, after vulnerability, after relational responsibility, the next question becomes, what is life actually showing me through the people I react to most?
Month 7 is about learning how to stop outsourcing everything to other people and start using your reactions as information, not as proof, not as a weapon, not as shame, but as information.
There was a time in my life where I had very strong reactions to certain kinds of people. People who felt arrogant, people who felt performative, people who seemed disconnected from themselves. And I could spot it immediately. I thought I was just discerning well. I thought I was seeing clearly. And maybe part of that was true. But what I eventually had to face was that my reactions had extra charge in them. And extra charge usually means that something more is going on than simple observation. It meant something in me was getting activated. Sometimes I had history with that pattern. Sometimes because I had unprocessed anger. Sometimes because I was seeing something that in them that I feared inside myself.
That's such an important distinction because seeing something clearly and reacting intensely are not always the same thing. You can notice a behavior and still stay grounded. But when there's charge, urgency, obsession, or a loop around it, that's often where the mirror begins.
And I think a lot of people miss this because it feels righteous. It feels like I'm just telling the truth. I'm just seeing what's there. I'm just calling it as it is, like it is. But if your reaction has a lot of energy in it, it's worth asking, why does this hit me so hard?
I've had versions of this too. Times when I was frustrated with someone for being unclear, indirect, or disconnected. And yes, their behavior may have been real. But sometimes what made it so activating was that it touched places in me where I had also been unclear, or where I had been disconnected from myself, or where I had tolerated something too long and hadn't addressed it. So the mirror wasn't exactly saying, you're just like them. It was saying, here's something for you too.
So, what do we externalize instead reflect? Let's define what we mean by mirror. Because the mirror is not blaming yourself for everything, excusing harmful behavior, pretending other people don't have responsibility. The mirror is this. Your reactions often reveal your unfinished material.
That unfinished material might be pain, fear, shame, grief, anger, longing, a pattern you haven't interrupted, a standard you haven't embodied, and a truth you don't want to face yet.
And that's why people externalize first, because externalizing is fast. It says, they're the problem. They're wrong. That's why I feel like this. And sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes their behavior is unhealthy. Sometimes something is really off. But even then, your reaction still belongs to you.
That's the part that changes people, not pretending that the outside doesn't matter, but realizing your internal response is still your responsibility. And if you only stay focused on the other person, you miss the deeper opportunity. What is this showing me about me?
Because reactions can reveal things like where you're still unhealed, where you're over-identified with being right, where you judge in others, what you reject in yourself, where you haven't set a boundary, where you've abandoned your own clarity.
Here's an important nuance. The mirror doesn't always mean similarity. Sometimes it means sensitivity. You may react strongly, not because you're exactly like the person in front of you, but because what they're doing touches a wound, a memory, or a fear inside of you. Either way, the reaction still points inward.
So let's jump onto frameworks. ICAVS and observation. So to apply this framework, not by repeating definitions, but by using them, we're going to start with I, introspection. The first move when you're activated is not analysis of the other person. It's introspection. What am I actually feeling right now? Am I hurt? Am I threatened? Am I dismissed? Jealous? Am I embarrassed? Do I feel powerless? Do I feel unseen? If you skip introspection, you go straight into the story. And story will almost always make the other person larger than your own inner process.
I'm so relating to this. This is where people can ask, why does this matter so much to me? What is being touched in me right now? What feels familiar about this reaction? That's how introspection shifts you from blame into awareness. All right, so C for container. When you're activated, container matters even more because without structure, reactions spread. They become impulsive messages, spirals, venting, assumptions, emotional flooding. Container might look like taking a breath before responding, or journaling before confronting, asking for time, slowing the interaction down, not processing everything in the heart of the moment or in the heat of the moment, right? The container doesn't suppress the truth. It gives it a better place to land.
A is for authenticity. Authenticity here means being honest about your reaction without disguising it as certainty. Not, you always make me feel, or you are, or this proves. But I notice this is activating something in me. I'm having a strong reaction and I want to understand it better. Something about this feels charged for me. That's authentic. It doesn't pretend neutrality. But it also doesn't weaponize emotion. Next is V for vulnerability.
So vulnerability here is letting yourself admit, I'm affected, I'm reactive, I'm not fully clear yet, I may need to look at my part too. And that takes courage, because it's much easier to stay in blame than to stay in honesty. All right, S. S is for safety.
Safety in this part of the work means creating enough steadiness that you can stay with your reaction without immediately discharging it onto someone else. And that's a huge part of maturity. Not I never react, but I can hold my reaction long enough to learn from it. The framework application, MISS, and relational reflection is something we're going to consider next.
All right, so now let's look at how the mirror shows up in connection. M is for meet. Can you actually meet someone where they are? Or are you meeting them through projection? Sometimes we're not responding to the person in front of us. We're responding to what they remind us of. And that matters. I is for invest.
If you react too quickly, you don't invest enough time to let reality reveal itself. You stay in first impressions, charge, assumptions, and pattern recognition without enough evidence. And sometimes what you call discernment is actually speed plus projection. Investment slows that down. Next is share information.
So this stage matters because your reactions often soften or become clearer when you have more real information. Without enough information, people fill in the blanks. And what fills in the blanks often is fear, hope, projection, history, which is why slowing down and gathering clearer information reduces distorted reactions. All right, next is shared experience.
This is where the mirror gets very real. Because once you start sharing experience with people, your unresolved material comes with you. Not because you did something wrong, but because closeness reveals what distance can hide. And that's why real connection becomes such a powerful mirror. Let's transition over to the practice. So now we bring it back to you. Because everyone has reactions. Everyone has certain kinds of people, behaviors, tones, and dynamics that activate them. The question is, what do you do with that activation? Do you use it to judge the outside? Or do you also let it teach you something about the inside?
That's what these questions are for. Take your time with them. Spend about 3 minutes with each one to start. Then come back later and deepen your answers. Because the first answer is often your defense. The deeper answer is usually the truth underneath it.
Let's jump out to our first breakout questions. The first set is about awareness and orientation. What kinds of people or behaviors tend to activate me most strongly? Be specific. What creates immediate charge in you?
For me, I get activated when people get angry. I don't handle anger very well. I never have. And so that gets me going. Sometimes I get activated when I perceive that people are doing something stupid. And they may not be doing anything stupid, but if that's what I'm perceiving, then sometimes that activates me too. There's probably other things, but those are the first two that come to mind.
For myself, it's when I'm not being heard and in consideration. People who stand in doorways of trains, people who are inconsiderate of other people's space and time. Those activate me very strongly. What else?
I think I get activated when I don't feel heard. I also get activated when I'm not being told the truth. When somebody is intentionally withholding something from me and I can tell, I get activated. I get caught up in a cycle of fear that something's being hidden from me, that there's something that's going to hurt me if I were to know about it, and then I become really charged about needing to find out what it is.
I also get activated by lack of initiative. When one person's doing something and three people are standing around watching them do it, when they could be doing other shit. That's another thing that activates me. It's like, why is everyone standing around with their hands in their pockets when I'm lifting these bags? That activates me. Thinking about it activates me just now.
I can tell. I can see it.
It's like, if we're all on this ship rowing, why are you fucking snacking? Like, why? Absence of initiative activates me. Yeah, there's a few immediate charges for me. And it revolves around a person's awareness, ability. Not ability, but awareness. Because if you're unable to do something, I can't blame you for not doing it. But if you're able to do something and you're not doing it, that activates me.
Yeah.
What do I usually make those reactions mean? Do you make them mean danger, disrespect, rejection, threat, incompatibility about something about your own worth?
Usually when I get activated, what happens is I feel this sense of, I'm like all riled up on my insides. And usually what happens for me is I feel like there's something I need to say to somebody. I feel like I need to fix something. That's what happens to me. I feel like something's wrong and that there's something out here in today that I need to fix. Whether it's a conversation I feel driven to have to either excuse something or try to make something different or right. And the trick about it is when I'm activated by something, even if something happens in today that, there's a reaction that I could have to it, right? Somebody gets angry and maybe they come at me about it and maybe I really didn't do anything or I didn't do anything. It was like there's a small reaction that's appropriate for what's here and now, and I could deal with that on the outside. But when I get activated, there's a bigger reaction. And that's not about today. I've learned that over the course of time that I've been dealing with this stuff. And what I've learned about that is there's nothing I can do with whoever's in my present. There's nothing that I can say or do to someone that's going to fix that part of it, that overreactive part that is about the past. And the only thing that I can do to deal with that is to look inside, like we were just saying, and to try to figure out what is it about me? What is it about how this is like something from the past? And what is that connection, and make that connection? And I've had to do things like, I'm texting furiously, like I'm going to reach out to that person and fix something right now. But I recognize that I'm in that activated state, and I've learned to not send those texts or emails or messages, to wait till I feel better, to wait till I sort out the difference between, maybe there's something I need to say, but I don't need to say it in the way I'm feeling it when I'm activated.
What do I usually make those reactions mean? Do you make them mean... So, with the question, what do I usually make those reactions mean? Like my reactions to them? What kinds of people or behaviors tend to activate me strongly? Inconsiderate people. What do I usually make those reactions mean? In some cases, it feels like disrespect and rejection. Also, incompatibility, something about my own worth. I like that around, like, are you okay living like that? Is another phrase that comes to mind. Like, why are you okay living like that? Why are you okay with that, is where my mind goes. But I think the reactions is about disrespect and rejection. However, there's something about your own worth. It's like incompatibility. It makes me think of like what's going on in your fucking mind that the outside doesn't matter to what's happening for you right now. Like the people in the doorways of the trains, that shit really drives me nuts. It's like, what has you so self-fucking absorbed that you can't take into consideration the effects of whatever's happening? Like standing in the doorway. That one in particular drives me. Throwing shit on the floor. Like on the streets, when I walk by people and they're just throwing shit on the floor, it's like inconsideration really does something to me that it hits a nerve right off the bat. And it's I feel like it's disrespect, not just to me, but to the larger picture in some cases. Yeah, rarely do I feel like it's a threat or something like that, but I feel like it's disrespect and inconsideration. That's really what it boils down to for me. Where might my reaction be bigger than the actual moment? Where does the intensity of your response suggest there may be more underneath it?
I think that's what I was just referring to in my last answer, right? That I've learned to become aware of the difference between what is a proportionate reaction to something that's happening in the here and now, and where does my reaction go over the top of that, right? And that's my reaction being bigger than the actual moment. And it's usually due to the intensity of my response, right? It's the intensity of my reaction is what has learned to cue me into that. The more underneath it has to do with me, and it doesn't have to do with whoever or whatever is happening on the outside of me. It has to do with me. It has to do with some unresolved thing from the past. It has to do with some attitude that I have that needs adjustment. Maybe I'm not in acceptance about, because people are going to do things, right? People are going to do what they do. And when I'm caught up in believing that they should be doing something different, right? I'm like not in acceptance of life the way that it really is. And there's a difference between like my being annoyed by it and then my being like super upset about it or feeling driven like there's something I need to fix, right? In most cases, there's nothing about anybody in today that I need to fix. It's the mirror. This is a mirror to my own reaction. And it suggests that I need to look at what's underneath it.
Where might my reaction be bigger than the actual moment? Where does the intensity of your response suggest there may be more underneath it? That's a tough one because it always feels justified. When my reactions almost always feel justified. Where does the intensity of your response suggest there may be more underneath it? I guess, like, generally, like, I would consider it like there'd be quick fixes, but if it's repetitive, like, we're quick fixing a repetitive problem. And maybe it's frustration from the repetition. That the intensity of the response is bigger than the actual moment. Because if I ask you to close the fridge door, the first time it's one thing, but on the 20th time it's something totally different. Not that the fridge door open is a thing, but it's like, or dirty clothes on the floor, right? That's enough. Doesn't happen much, but it's like, if I have to tell a person repeatedly to fix this small problem, the absence of being heard creates the problem, right? So it's not necessarily the action, it's the repetitive, it's the action being repeated, and the discussions not being heard. So I think that the intensity of the response is due to not being heard more so than the thing happening. Right? So it's like, I guess being on repeat is not enjoyable. And I don't feel heard when I'm repeating myself. Because that's the trigger for me, is I'm saying something I've said, addressed in the past, and here it is again. 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 So it's like that pattern, it feels like I'm not being heard. So I think the intensity of the response underneath any of it, almost any of it, is not being heard. Like maybe if the MTA could like put zappers on the doorway so that when the doors open, people move, right? Then I'm being heard, right? Then the MTA is hearing me. But yeah, I think the underlying thing is not being heard. Number 4, what might this reaction be pointing to in me? Is it a wound, a fear, a pattern, a trait you reject, a truth you haven't addressed?
I think for me, a lot of times it's pointing to a wound. It's pointing to not necessarily a trait or a truth I haven't addressed, but a feeling of injury, a feeling of being harmed in the past, a feeling of somebody or something hurting me in the past. And so some of the reaction, the overreaction, is being driven by a fear that pattern is going to repeat itself. Even if I have no reason to believe that it's going to, if I'm being logical about it in today, when it comes up, when I'm in it, when I'm activated, I think some of it's being driven by fear from a past wound that I haven't done the work that I need to do to heal. And what I've learned is that that's what the mirror is showing me, that there's something in my past, something that has happened to me before that I need to heal from. And that's what's going to make me feel better in the today. It's not trying to fix somebody or something in my life right now. It's healing from the past that I need to do in order to be able to be let go of the thing that's activating me.
It's really difficult because it's like I've been working on this for a number of years, right? Like what puts me into those moments? And it always boils back down to not being heard. And rejection and disrespect. And is it a wound? Sure it is. A wound of disrespect, not being heard, and like, so what does a person do when they're not heard? What does a person do when they continuously feel like they're being disrespected? When it comes to asking for things. Or awareness, or shared responsibility, or maybe that's it, shared responsibility. Right? Like I can't be the one always maintaining the guard. I can't be the one always doing X. And if I am, don't be inconsiderate to my work. Right? So like, if I sweep and mop the floors and you come in and make a mess because you don't have to clean it, because it's not on your radar, that's disrespect to me. Because I'm the one cleaning, I'm the one mopping, I'm the one doing this, and the things that are getting shit on are the things that I do. Right? So it's like, maybe that's where it feels like disrespect. Or when the doors open on the elevator, on the train, I step aside because I want to let people on and off the train. But when people don't do that, it's like, it's not just an inconvenience for me, it's an inconvenience for everyone around you. And yeah, there's a few different levels to that. Ultimately, it's like inconsideration. But I still don't know what that could be pointing to in me. Do you have an idea?
I don't.
Because I've been chasing this one for a long time. And, you know, from time to time it'll show up, and I do my best to not let it spill out all over the place, but then it's like it digs into me. And I don't know the point of origin. I don't know what it's pointing to. Yeah, I don't know. I've been asking that for some time now.
Thank you. If there's anything that I can say, it's that you're probably not alone. So thank you for being vulnerable like that.
So just a reminder, before we go into our second set of questions, take 3 minutes, answer each question, then come back in a day or two and flesh out the questions even more, your answers even more for the questions. You'd be surprised how much more information you can get out digging in a couple days later.
All right, so the next question. What do I judge most strongly in others, and why might that carry charge for me?
Be honest here. Strong judgment often points to unfinished material.
What do I judge most strongly in others?
For myself, it's the inconsideration. That shit really drives me nuts. When a person is so oblivious to what's happening around them, it comes at the cost of someone else's, not just comfort, but presence, ability to participate, ability to be seen. Yeah. That's a huge one for me.
This one's tougher for me. What do I judge most strongly in others? I would agree with you. I think I do have judgment about inconsideration when people are inconsiderate. I've learned to be reactive to the people on the train too. I never used to notice it, and then you pointed it out, and now I see it.
The other shit that triggers me is people who play music on the fucking Bluetooth speaker on the train, or over their cell phones, or they have their fucking phone conversations on the speaker. It's like, well, see, that shit really activates me. And I don't know why. Well, because it bothers me. It bothers me if I'm trying to have a conversation, if I'm just trying to sit in peace, and someone's playing their fucking music on their cell phone speaker. It's like you have $300 pair of fucking sneakers, you have this $800 jacket, and you don't have any fucking headphones. That's how that shit makes me feel. It's like I don't have patience for that. I don't have much patience for that at all, if any at all. And how, like, when that shows up in kink spaces, what does that show up like in kink spaces? The brat who fucking has to yell and scream and run all over the space, acting like an asshole because they feel that that's their identity and they could just shit all over people with it. And like, I don't like that. I don't only not like that, but that shit infuriates me. Or a dominant who comes in and acts dominant to everybody. Or a submissive who's chasing everyone around, acting like everyone is their fucking dominant. It's like a projection of you have to accept me the way I am. And it's like, no, I don't. I reject you. And I don't want you near me. Yeah, so I carry, what do I judge most strongly? It's in consideration. It's like, it comes back to consideration. You know, when we host events, the idea of no labels, first names, you're not anyone's anything, is because of that. It's like, I don't want people in the spaces that we create to project their wants and their needs onto other people.
Yeah. And I think we do a good job of maintaining spaces where we don't tolerate that.
Yeah, no, I do too. It's more along the lines of that it exists out there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be engaged with those type of people. I don't want those people in my space. I don't want them in my personal space. I don't want them in my life. Because it's like, inconsideration can cost people food, shelter, safety, their lives in some cases. It's like, or even equality. The ability to exist. If a person's inconsiderate, it's like you don't exist to whatever they're navigating. So that's what I judge strongly in others. And like, what unfinished material could that be? Like meeting people where they're at? Yeah, sure. And we're on the same fucking train together. It's like, I have to accept your inconsideration in my life. I have to accept that disrespect in my presence to me. Because of tolerance? That shit doesn't add up to me. It doesn't add up to me. I don't have to accept behaviors. Like, just remove them. But then you can't, because you're riding on the fucking train with them. You know, there came a point, there came a time where people could be corrected for consideration and inconsideration. But shit has gotten so self-centered around me and I and mine. It's people have become so self-absorbed in what they want and what they need at the expense of other people's peace or safety or inclusion. Yeah, I have a lot of judgment around that. I have a lot. And I don't know where it stems from. Maybe it's because I'm a Libra.
Or Mercury's in retrograde.
Or Mercury's in retrograde. All right. Now that I got that out of my system.
Okay.
Did you answer 5?
As much as I could.
Where have I been focused on someone else's behavior instead of looking at my own response? Everywhere that they're fucking inconsiderate. Where have I been focused on someone else's behavior instead of looking at my own response? When it inconveniences me, when it bleeds into my life, when it shits all over me, that's when I become focused on someone else's behavior instead of looking at my own response.
I focus on someone else's behavior instead of looking at my own response when I'm caught up in the fear and the anxiety of the activation. When something happens and I get activated, I'm usually focusing on the person, place, or thing that activated me before I can get to looking at my own response. I've gotten better about it. I've gotten a little bit, because I learned to notice the activation and put in some parameters for my behavior that I do different things, right? Like I don't run after the person, place, or thing in the present. I let myself stand back and try to investigate why I had the reaction that I had. So I do look at my own behavior, my own response. But before I can get there, I'm usually focused on the person, place, or thing that caused the activation in the first place. So there's still a time lag between me being activated and me being able to look at my own response. But the good news is it's gotten better, right? And, I used to think that progress should be measured by, once I become aware of something, it should never happen again. But what I've learned is that progress means it happens again, only it happens on a better timetable, right? So that's what happens for me.
Where have I been focused on someone else's behavior instead of looking at my own response? I think what you shared about over time, the ability to take a breath. It's like the absence of the tools to help me work through it is often what puts me in focusing on someone else's behavior instead of my own response, and sometimes I haven't developed the skills to do that. It's like, it still activates me. I focus on someone else's behavior instead of my own response if I don't have the tools to do that. And depending on what's happening and my relationship to what's happening, do I either have the tools or I don't, right? Because where are you still waiting for the outside to change before you look inward is part of that question. It's tough because am I supposed to allow the inconsideration and the disrespect to keep happening until the outside notices? Or do I succumb to what my insides are saying because they're not worth listening to? Because maybe the person is right? Maybe they should just stand in the doorway with no repercussion and inconvenience myself and everyone else around them? Because they are more valued than I am? Because what they say matters more than the larger picture?
For me, a lot of this is about, I have a history that's taught me how to do this, right? To look at a situation and look for my part, right? Looking for my part is when I can remember that no matter how disturbed I am by something, I have a part in it. And then I start to look for that rather than staying focused on what's wrong with the person, place, or thing in front of me. I can begin to find the thing that unhooks me. Sometimes it's acceptance that people are just people and they're going to do what they're going to do. And the only person I can change is me, right? The only person I have any control over is me. And so if I am, right, like in the example that you gave about the music on the train, right? What occurred to me is when I'm in that situation, the only thing I could really do would be to change train cars. right? Because I can't change the person in front of me. And if something upsets me to that degree, I can either like try to tune it out, or I can get up and move. And then and depending on what response I can come up with that lets me let go of the frustration or the fear or the anger or whatever my part is, then that's the thing that's the right thing for me to do. But I can only get there when I start to look at my own response and I start to look at it from the standpoint of what.
But you don't see what's wrong with that? Like, let's say it's rush hour. Let's say there's nowhere to sit. Let's say you go to another car and someone else is doing the same shit. What, are you going to just take the next train? Like, you have to inconvenience yourself so much because people are inconsiderate?
No, but I can't change somebody's behavior. I mean, I do that thing now too, where like if I'm walking out the train door and somebody's standing in it, I want to, give them a shoulder check. But I know that that's not the right thing for me to do. So I can either accept it for exactly as it is, or I can do something to change my behavior, whatever that's going to be. That's for me. That's how I've learned how to navigate.
Yeah, but essentially what happens is you make yourself smaller for the convenience of someone else's inconsideration.
I don't know any way to change someone's inconsideration. That's where I end up. I don't know of any way to make somebody be different, how to change people. Other than maybe to show up. I mean, I suppose there's something to be said for going up to the person and saying, hey, you know that you're standing in the doorway, and that's really inconsiderate when the train is as crowded as it is right now. But, how... And maybe, because setting boundaries is what's occurring to me as you're talking about some of this stuff, right? Like, if I set a boundary and you don't honor it and you continue to not honor it, that's information for me, right? And if I continue to engage with you and the information that I'm getting is that you don't know how to be considerate, you don't know how to not do the thing that I've asked you not to do, then me continuing to show up is on me, right? The only other response that I would have would be to absent myself from the situation, right? And I don't know, the way that it's worked for me is I've just chosen to see what I can do from my side for me to achieve some sort of balance or comfort or to get out of the activation. Because we're really talking about when we're activated. And for me, activation simply means that I'm having a disproportionate response, right? If somebody's really doing something in the here and now, and my reaction is entirely appropriate to what's happening today, and none of it is activated response, none of it is past response, right? Then I have a choice over how I'm going to behave. Am I going to set a boundary? Am I going to walk away? What am I going to do with the situation? And then that's the part that's on me, is what am I going to do? What am I going to do different?
So, where have I been focused on someone else's behavior instead of looking at my own response? Where are you still waiting for the outside to change before you look inward? Where have I been focused on someone else's behavior? Yeah, that it's like I wonder what goes on through people's minds. Because whenever I'm activated, there's always a level of justification in it for me. Sometimes I see where I was wrong, and sometimes I just feel bad for how I responded, but not necessarily how I feel, if I was wrong or not. And I try to voice my concerns, I think, Where am I still waiting for the outside to change before I look inward? Yeah, that's really difficult. Because it's like, do I have to set up safety net around everything and anything around me that I want to make sure that stays the same? And I don't know. I guess we'll find out on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's where it all hits the chopping block, right? Is on Tuesday.
What would it look like to stay curious about my reaction instead of immediately believing it? What would change if you slowed down and investigated before deciding? I've tried that in the past, and what I've been able to do is buy myself some seconds, but it's like I'm still in the passenger seat watching a crash happen that I can't control. And I don't know how people have the ability to pause and disconnect or change direction when they're activated. I just don't see it, because when I pause, my brain floods with justifications for being activated. And it's like, I've said the things, I've done the things, I've tried the things, and it's happening again. So it's like, because also if I don't get it out immediately, it's going to fester and it's going to get worse inside of me before it comes out. Right? It's like I notice when I'm activated, the frustration mounts faster than any relief. Because it's like all I'm seeing is information in front of me that says either no one cares or no one's listening.
I don't know that I have an answer to this question, but I'm going to take this question as a suggestion to stay curious about my reaction instead of immediately believing it. Like I said, the only way that I'm able to deal with it is when I notice it, when I notice the activation, right? And then I've developed some coping skills around it. But the idea of staying curious about it, curiosity is a quality that I've only recently started to look at developing and understanding the value of. So, what changes if I slow down and really look at it is that I can get a chance to see where the activation isn't really rooted in today. So I'm gonna trying on curiosity.
Let's go to number 8.
Okay.
What is one reaction pattern I want to observe differently this week? Not fix it, not be perfect, just observe more honestly.
Based on the last question, right, the idea of curiosity, I think I want to observe all my reaction patterns, right? See if when I get activated, I can't carve out a space inside myself to get curious, and if maybe the curiosity will reduce the intensity of the reaction.
Well, what activates you?
Not being heard, people being angry, people doing dumb things.
Dumb being relative.
Dumb being relative. Dumb being, in my opinion, right? And that's true, right? It's like when I'm perceiving that somebody's doing a dumb thing, there's a part of myself that I need to be looking at. Like if I stay focused on the fact that somebody's doing a dumb thing and I'm right to be mad or to be upset or to be activated, because that activation doesn't happen as often for me as the anxiety, fear related activation, right? And that one I've learned a little bit more about. But the angry reaction that I get is something I don't have that reaction often, but when I do have it, sometimes I can splash it all around instead of owning it and being responsible for it. And so maybe that's the reaction pattern, is the one about when I get angry.
You know, another thing I noticed in here is I'm simply going off of triggered as in angered. Understanding that triggered could mean fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? So me answering these questions for you guys, understand that I'm coming from a very particular lens. Activation for you can mean any of those. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, where you can become compliant, where you have to run away, where you fight, where you become over-agreeable, right?
Yeah.
So I'm answering from my lived experience. You, as the viewer, consider that, right? That it could be running. Why do I always run, right? Versus X. Or why do I always become compliant?
Yeah.
Because of X. Or why do I freeze because of X? So as you're watching these, understand that what's happening for me is I'm going into my trigger. And it doesn't have to mean that's yours, the way that it looks, like that it looks that way for you guys.
Yeah.
Right? So just keep that in mind. Why did that end? I'll be back.
Some of my activation has been in the realm of flight and fawn, right? I do that combination of wanting to run away. And sometimes I run away by just getting really quiet and it's hard to get me engaged. I freeze in terms of being able to communicate. And then sometimes the fawning is I over apologize. I own things that are not mine because I want to smooth things over because I can't tolerate how it feels to be in something with someone, like when somebody gets angry or somebody's upset and maybe I didn't do anything. Maybe I did a small thing, but I didn't do the thing that made them that mad. But I'll go into owning it and apologizing for it as if I'm going to smooth it over and make it better. And that's not necessarily a healthy response either. So some of what I've been trying to learn how to do is if I can step out of the activation and try to be real about what's happening in the moment and have a reaction that's proportionate. But that's a challenge. It's not easy.
Yeah, we hit number 8, right? We were just talking number 8. And we're going to review the questions in a second. But I wanted to highlight that. What is one reaction pattern I want to observe differently this week? Because sometimes I'm not confrontational. Sometimes I don't get into a fight mode. Sometimes I get into a freeze mode where I just shut down. And I tend to do that around people who don't shut the fuck up, right? They're not necessarily a threat or angering me. It's like, well, they're kind of angering me. I guess I have some unresolved shit to do, right? But no, there's people in some spaces I go to that they just don't shut the fuck up. They just talk and talk and talk. And they talk in circles and they talk in circles and they use the same language. Anyway, see another one. So, yeah, it's I got to sit with that because whenever I hear triggered, the only thing that comes to mind is fight for me. But there are others. There's other circumstances that I react differently, right? So, like if there's someone in space who doesn't shut the fuck up, right? For example, I'll just disconnect and I'll go quiet. And that's my response. And the reason why I do that is because the person's angering me, right? But that's an awareness I got an hour fucking later. So I apologize about that, guys. Because I immediately wanted to give my own personal responses versus something from an observation from an ivory tower. It's like,
No, but that's what we do here.
This is mine to work with and work for. And so let's talk about questions. For month 7, episode 1, the mirror. What activates me strongly? And when I ask that question, it's not just fight, but it's flight, freeze, or fawn as well.
Yep. Question 2, what do I make those reactions mean?
Question 3, where's my reaction bigger than the moment?
Question 4, what might this reaction be pointing to in me?
Number 5, what do I judge most strongly in others?
Number 6, where am I focused outward instead of inward?
Number 7, what would curiosity change here?
And then number 8, what reaction pattern do I want to observe this week?
Let's talk about integration and invitation.
Okay, so most people want self-awareness until it becomes inconvenient, until it asks them to look at something in themselves instead of just naming what's wrong in someone else.
That's why this work is powerful, because it doesn't just help you explain your patterns, it helps you interrupt them.
Yep, that's what we talked about last night. If you can see a pattern, you can interrupt it, right? And that's exactly what we practice inside Conscious Conversations every Tuesday night. It's a live, guided space where you can reflect and speak and hear others. You get to notice your patterns and stay in the work long enough for it to actually change something.
Those breakout rooms they change a lot for me.
Yeah.
Now, to be in those spaces, it's only $30 a month for you to get access. And for people who want deeper support, our integration circle gives you the Tuesday night conversations, the community, a private WhatsApp group, and a monthly live session with us. Because awareness doesn't come out of nowhere, right? Awareness becomes transformation through repetition, honesty, and practice.
Not everything you react to is yours, but your reaction is.
And if you're willing to stay with it long enough, it can teach you something that blame never will.
So instead of asking, why are they like that?
Try asking, why does this land in me the way it does? Let's talk about next week and next month, because month 7 is clearly going to be tough. I'm going to have to make a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. Next week, we're going to go deeper into projection. What happens when you don't just react to someone, but start assigning them a role in a story you're already carrying.
And over the rest of this month, we'll keep exploring triggers and patterns and ownership and what it means to stop outsourcing your awareness.
Because the mirror is not there to shame you. It's there to show you what is ready to be seen. New episodes drop every Friday, and the work continues inside Conscious Conversations Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Actually, 7 p.m. 7 p.m.
7 p.m. And the podcast drops on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday
Right?
now.
Podcast drops on Wednesday, and Conscious Conversations starting in May is moving to 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us for another fun and exciting episode. Hopefully you got something out of that, and it helped you see something in yourself.
I'm going to record a disclaimer next to put in the beginning of this episode.
Okay.